Good evening and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. It's May 19th, 2025, and we're at the Great Hall, second floor, 26 Court Street in the Town Hall. And this is the old courtroom where a couple of presidents have in the past sat right in this bench. So, the history lesson over. We've got kind of a full schedule this evening, and our first case will be Diane Stillman Trust, Merrill Engineering, 79 Naughty Pine Road, case number 4161, and I will have the clerk read the advertisement into the record.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr.
Chairman.
What?
Case number 4161, the Plymouth Zoning Board of Appeals on the zoning bylaw will hold a public hearing in the Great Hall, Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass. On Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6 p.m. to hear the petition of Naughty Pines Road Nominee Trust, Stillman Diane Trust, requesting a special permit required per section 2031C, accessory building location, and per section 2052 RR in dimensional table to waive the required front and side setbacks to construct a detached garage on the property of 79 Naughty Pine Road, shown as parcel 086-000-03B-000 of the assessor's maps dated January 1, 2024 in an RR zone. The petitioner or his or her representative or any other person interested in desiring to be heard on this request should appear at the time and place designated.
Thank you. Seated on this case will be Mr. O'Reilly, Mr. Conroy, Mr. Peck, and myself. Who am I leaving out?
Me?
And what's his name? And Mr. Leary. Who will be representing?
Hi, guys.
Your
My name is
please.
Kyle Hanrahan. I'm here from Merrill Engineers, and then with me today I have Norm Stillman, our client, and Jeff Metcalf, the architect for the project. So this is an existing just above half an acre lot in the RR district. We're situated between Boot Pond over to the west and the roadway running along the east, and then there's residential properties to the north and south. Our client is proposing a 26 by 48 garage here with a couple bump outs on the back. We're asking for a special permit here to waive the required setbacks. As you can see, this is a pre-existing non-conforming lot within the RR district. A 70-foot front setback and 10-foot side setbacks or 30-foot side setbacks are required, which we evidently cannot meet. So we're asking to waive those requirements here. There's some additional constrictions on this lot. There's the pond over here with the associated wetland and wetland buffers, as well as the pond on the other side of the road with the same associated buffers, as well as a septic system in the yard area here that we have to hold the proper distances from as well, which sort of just leaves us with one little triangle here in the corner of this lot that we could build in. This structure will be a one-story, three-bay garage, and we're digging it into the side of this existing hill just so that it's a little more hidden from the neighboring view. So here's from the back and from the front. And then I'm just going to have Norm come up just to speak on the proposed use and his purposes for it.
Good evening, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Norm Stillman. I've lived in Plymouth for 21 years at my home on Naughty Pines Road for the last 18 of those. I'm a full-time resident at Naughty Pines, and I have no residence other than that one. This is where I raised my kids and where I've returned to from a long day of work every day. Also, living there year-round, I'm one of the neighborhood members who cut down trees when they fall across the road in the winter and who organizes the filling of the potholes in the springtime. I try to be a great neighbor and to respect my neighbors just as they respect me. I think that it's a telling fact that there are only 6 year-round homes on our road. One of them is inhabited by my sister next door to me, another one too far down the road to be impacted by this issue. The third one's my own, and then the other 3 inhabitants of the year-round homes on Knotty Pines have all written letters of endorsement for my project, strong and unreserved, affirming that it would be a good addition and not detrimental to the neighborhood. I'd be so grateful to have approval to build this garage because I think it'll bring me a lot of joy and contentment as I begin to enter retirement. For most of my life, I worked very long hours and that precluded having a hobby, but now as I'm getting close to the age where I'll be retired, I'm ready to begin catching up on some deferred goals and some missed opportunities. I recently bought a camper van, and my wife and I have taken some great trips in it, but when it's not in use, I have nowhere to store it currently, and it just lives in my driveway. I'd love to store it indoors to prevent it from becoming an eyesore, but it's almost 12 feet high, and my current garage can't accommodate it, hence the interior height of the project that I proposed. Also, I've always wanted to learn to work on old cars, and I've acquired an antique truck that I'm learning to repair, but it's also about 10 feet high, and it needs some space too. I've taken up metalworking recently, and I'm trying my hand at sculpture. But of course, sculpting and wrenching require space that I simply don't have. And I should add that all my hobbies are quiet, non-commercial in nature. They won't bring any additional traffic or visitors to the neighborhood. And the structure I'm proposing won't have any windows facing towards any neighboring cottages and will be very well insulated for sound. Similarly, my proposed garage will allow me some flexibility as I eventually have to remodel my house to allow my wife and I to age in place rather than have to move as we become seniors. My home, despite its many wonderful traits, has no bathroom or bedroom on the ground floor, and I foresee a time, more for me than her, but they're coming, when we'll have some difficulty with the stairs. This garage will allow me to eventually close in my current attached garage to make a ground level bedroom and bathroom so that my wife and I aren't forced to leave our home only by our difficulty of ascending and descending stairs. Additionally, there's some concern that my aging mother may need to come live with us, and in that case, the timeline for conversion of our present garage would be expedited. As mentioned earlier, the location of my septic system and also the buffer zones of Boot Pond and Hallfield Pond make the proposed location the only feasible one on my property. The hill of this location will hide a lot of the structure, and I'm happy to add additional landscape or berms to even further integrate it with the landscape and utilize a muted and natural palette of colors to soften its profile and help it to blend into the surroundings. I appreciate your consideration of my request.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do you have anything else? This is just a preliminary for the board. Have you any questions, Ed? Kevin? Michael?
Yeah, I have a couple different ones.
For the engineers,
This is not for both. Yeah, I have a couple of quick questions. Well, not for you, more Merrill, I would think. One is, you know, the road status. When I was looking at the plans, usually there's a layoff for the road. There was nothing on this, just shows the edge of the road, so.
Yeah, so based on that deed, the property line actually is the edge of the road.
Yeah,
So there is no difference. That's why there's no buffer there. The property line is just the edge of that road there.
okay. So, I mean, yeah, and what is the status of that road? Is that user maintained, private?
I believe it's private, maintained privately.
Okay. I see you've satisfied the end.
please.
You have to do it from the podium. And the other things, well, I've looked at, you satisfied the engineering comments. Of course, I saw both iterations of your plan. Yeah, I think the other questions you've just about answered, so I'm fine.
David?
I'm fine for now.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to open this to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to comment in favor or in opposition of this petition? Yes, ma'am, please step to the microphone and identify yourself. And the reason we say that is this is being recorded, and eventually you'll be able to see it on television if you're interested.
Okay. Hello, my name is Gretchen Wiseman, the daughter of Paul Wiseman. We're the owners of 71 Naughty Pines Road. We're the next-door neighbors and abutters to the Stillman's property at 79 Naughty Pines Road. I'm speaking on behalf of my father and myself, my family. I'm here today to express my concerns about the proposed development of a large garage near our house. I've struggled with this proposal since we heard of it, including over the past weekend after the planning board meeting while we tried to come to an agreement with our neighbor. We appreciate his offer to paint the roof to better camouflage it, but this doesn't address our main concerns. And as much as we would like to avoid this conflict, I still have a pit in my stomach every time I think about this plan. And just as I would never want him to not be allowed to enjoy his property, I also feel that we should be able to continue to enjoy ours. Locating something of this size so close to our house will fundamentally and negatively affect our experience of our property. Our house and this place means so much to me and to my family. My great-grandparents bought this land 100 years ago and built a small fishing cottage. I am 54 years old, and I've been coming here my whole life, the same as my father and my grandmother, and 5 generations of extended family members and cousins and friends. Since this is about how this development will impact us, I would like to try to describe what it means to us and how we experience it. I don't have a I sent in pictures. I hope that you have those in the site. But to get to our property, you drive down a narrow dirt road through a thick forest of very old trees. And though it is only a few minutes from traffic on the main road, within a minute or so it is completely quiet. You can't hear any noise but chirping birds. No motors have ever been allowed on the pond. There are a handful of houses on the road, as Norm said, but they're mostly set way back where you can't see them except from the pond. There are many species of wildflowers, some are rare like lady slippers and others that grow in the pines on the ground. Boot Pond itself is an ancient kettle pond filled with fish, soft, clear water, warm on top but cool underneath on your feet because it is spring-fed, and one of only a handful of places where rare red-bellied turtles live. One side of the pond is in a trust as protected land. It's wonderful for all types of nature, swimming, boating, bird watching, fishing, and just living. It is a respite for me and our family, the only place where I am always relaxed, and it is so meaningful to me. But I think that anyone that visits can also see how special it is too. Our neighbor's proposed building will fundamentally change how we can enjoy and experience our property. The back of the garage would be extremely close to our house, and from what I can tell, it is towering over our property. It is built into the hill, but the hill is quite steep, and our house is on top, and it's twice as long as our house and as wide, and so I think the current length and height, I don't know if another proposal was submitted, but of the one that I've seen, I think it's 16 feet high, which is more than a story. It's nearly twice as large as our house itself and is going to be used for cars and machinery for mechanical work with metal. To build this building in this location requires excavating and leveling half of a fairly steep hill that has been between our properties and which has been covered in trees for as long as we have owned it. It will be impossible not to see this garage all the time. Every time we look out our bedroom windows or any of the 5 living room windows and within feet, and where we once had trees and woods, we'll be seeing the back wall of a garage, a steel roof, or a cement retaining wall. or a ditch filled with water runoff from the roof between the garage and the wall. Every time we enter and leave our property, we will pass within feet of the almost two-story side of the garage. It also seems likely that given this planned use of the garage, we will also be hearing the sound of heavy machinery on metal any or all of the time when we are on our property in our house. It is impossible to know what turns our lives may take in the future. Maybe it won't hold machinery, but once this building is there, it will always be there. It would be unreasonable to suggest that a neighbor should not build on their property, but it does seem reasonable to locate this garage farther from our house. The zoning law talks about how a proposed structure should not negatively affect abutting uses and buildings, and that the proposed mass and height must be reasonable. I think that the garage, as proposed, will clearly have a huge impact on our experience and use of our home and land. And I want to reiterate that we're not against the project itself. We would like it to be just more considerate of the location and the size. Thanks for hearing me.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak either in favor or in opposition of this? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Richard Kavicki. I live at 70 Knotty Pines Road. My property is directly across the street from Norm and Diane Stillman's. I've lived there the entire time the Stillmans have been there. And I just thought that I would vouch for his community, neighborhood-minded view and conduct as a great neighbor. I feel very unfortunate. The Wisemans have also been great neighbors. And it's too bad that they feel that would impact them to that extent. But I do not feel that it would affect the neighborhood in the same way, not being in the same position as the Wisemans next door. But I do think that the Stillmans have been very considerate and very thoughtful about the neighborhood in general, as well as with this plan.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to the board. Do you have anything you want to address at this point?
I would like the opportunity to...
Please, come to the microphone.
I would like the opportunity to address some of the concerns raised during the discussion. I don't know if this is the appropriate time for it. I'll defer to your schedule.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. So I'd like to reiterate that I've been trying to broker a compromise with my neighbor that we can both feel good about, and I've offered changes to the layout of the structure, to the color choices of the roof and the landscaping, and different ways to help obscure it from the Weissman's view out the back window. Also, I should remind my neighbor that because that cottage is up on the top of the hill, that no part of the garage will extend even up to the ground level of the cottage. It'll be significantly below the cottage at every point. That view is what a rendering of what we think it would look like out of the back window of the cottage up on the hill. I think also it's important to note that I've made a lot of very painstaking preparations for this garage. I started a couple of years ago when I hired some professionals to help me navigate the detailed requirements of the Conservation Board. And after putting it through, the Conservation Board approved the project. Then I hired an engineer to carefully map every tree on the property, to stake out the property lines to within an inch of accuracy and denote the buffer zones for both Boot Pond to the west and Hallfield Pond to the east. Then I hired an architect to draw plans that would fit into the surroundings, to be unobtrusive and to take advantage of the hilly terrain to hide most of the structure. And now, before you having carefully complied with every regulation and request to have your permission to proceed with the final stage of the project, in which I've invested so much time and resources. I think it's worth contrasting my painstaking and law-abiding process with the Weissmans, who several years ago decided to build a large freestanding structure right alongside the property line. I think it's a shed or a guest house or a child's playhouse, but it's large. I'm estimating about 220 feet squared, about 15 feet on the square, and about 15 feet high. permanently anchored to the ground on 9 concrete pilings that stand exactly 11 feet from the property line, never submitted to or approved by conservation or zoning or the building department, never underwent inspections, and several knowledgeable friends of mine have told me that it would never pass inspection for several obvious code violations. I don't think it's fair that my neighbor can build a structure so close to the property line and without any regard for the law at all, but when I try to build a structure a similar distance from the boundary, she invokes the town government to oppose it. I just don't think that you should be able to both disrespect town law and use it as a weapon at the same time. Similarly, Ms. Weissman has complained that my structure would stand rather close to her cottage, but it should be noted that up until recently, it would have been more than 30 feet from the cottage. A few years ago, she built a large addition onto the cottage, almost doubling its size, and in the direction of the property line. That addition now extends to exactly 10 feet from the property line, and it's 10 feet on the other side where I propose to begin my building. So it's true that only at one spot 20 feet would separate the structures, but only because of the large addition to that seasonal cottage which she already built.
I'm going to stop you now because all of the things that you're talking about now are not pertinent to the facts of this case. I know how you feel. I know the other side of the story, but this board is held very tightly to what we can and can't do. And that's all irrelevant to case number 4161, okay? It's passed, and I'm sorry, but we can't entertain that as evidence.
I understand that. Okay. In that case, I will close my arguments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to bring this back for board discussion only. Yes, you certainly, please.
I'd like to ask Merrill Engineering representative something. So the planning board vote declined, did not approve this.
That is correct. They
And
advised.
so what was their main concern?
Their main concern was the size and impact on the neighbor. They had believed it would be, I think, taller than it is. They're looking at the height from the slab to the roof is 16 feet. But because we're so dug into the side of the hill, it's significantly less of an impact than I think they were picturing. But their primary concern was the overall size.
In relation to the lot size or the height?
I believe both, but mostly the height. They were concerned the neighbor seeing it from behind. If it were towering up above their lot, that would be a lot more impactful, but we believe because it is downslope and tucked into the slope, we kind of have considered that already and tried to reduce that impact as much as we can here.
Has there been any modifications to your plan since the planning board recommendation?
We have not changed the plan. We have changed just the coloring on the roof there. That was originally black, but we agreed to change that to green just to kind of camouflage it a little bit further. But just the materials on the outside of the structure have been changed.
Thank you very much.
Kevin.
While you're up, the petitioner talked about landscaping, and I was trying to figure out on the plan, has there been any landscaping done on the back of it in between the two properties?
Yeah, so we only showed landscaping up at the road on either side of the driveway, but we're willing to put whatever landscaping is required behind it as screening as well.
Thanks.
Michael.
You got that?
Yeah, we're both.
Okay, yeah, I did go out and look at it. I saw the planning board's recommendation, but, you know, I went out there and the neighborhood itself is kind of congested, actually. Somebody I know out there's got a one of the sheds or whatever close to the street too. They're tight lots, and I understand because of both setbacks from the 100-foot buffers meet in the property, there's no other place to move your septic system. So I realize, you're stuck at this location for the garage itself. Personally, I'm fine with it. I'm gonna approve it. I looked at it, you did drop the back of the garage, would probably only be 3 feet above that, the property itself. I don't see a problem with it myself.
David?
Well, we're not in deliberations, or we're getting closer, but I am, at this point, against it for perhaps the planning board reasons. It's so big, but it looks like a large commercial, 3-car commercial garage where cars get put on lifts and whatever, and the look and the size of it looks inappropriate for this particular neighborhood. I think my colleagues are right, that's the only place for it. But it looks bigger than it needs to be. As I looked at the drawings, as Mr. Stillman said, he already has a garage. The house has a garage for 1 or 2 cars, plus a big parking lot. And I'm afraid just having a hobby of a RV and a large truck to fix, is not a convincing enough explanation for basically what looks like a 3-car commercial garage. Anybody else in the future could go buy a couple big old trucks and say, well, I need a garage for it because I have the trucks. So I recognize the heartfelt reasons behind it, as well as the attempts at compromise with the neighbor, but I'm looking at it as sort of an architect and a planner with something of that size in that neighborhood. So I am going to vote against this particular petition.
Ed, what say you?
I agree with David Peck's reasoning. I do think it's too big, and it's the lot size. So I would like a smaller garage for this location. I'm not too concerned about it being converted from a residential to commercial, because we can condition that. But I am, as of right now, I'm not in support of it.
Well, I was concerned when I drove out there and took a look, but seeing that it's being built into the side of the hill, I don't share the same concerns, but I'm looking at the planning board conditions, which I'd be in favor of all of them, but if I were to support this, I'd want to follow up on the landscaping on the back of the garage to make sure you're doing anything that you can to screen it from your neighbor.
Well, gentlemen, what would you like to do? Because I will tell you, my feelings are, it's huge. But boy, I wished I could have it. It just won't fit on my lot. But I will tell you what, it is a little large for that area. But then again, it's not being used for commercial use. And my feeling has always been that when a person owns a piece of property, they should be able to be the king of the castle, so to speak. They should be able to utilize their property to the fullest of their ability. And when they run into some problems doing that, they have to come here. And we have to decide whether this is overburdened or not. I'm in favor of this, but I think that we have some problems here, so I'm going to let the board decide.
So, I guess, Ed, you're a negative on it. You're for denial.
As of right now, correct.
Okay. And with also David, I am going to do something. I'm going to ask the petitioner if we have 2 members, you need 4 members to vote in the positive. If we deny it without prejudice, you'd be able to come back if you wanted to downsize, like knock one bay off it. Sounds like one of our members, or maybe even both, might vote for it then. What do you think to that? What's your response to that? Well, I'm just,
No, we can't get a response right now. We've got to,
well, because I'm either going to make a motion to deny.
all right, all
Yeah.
right.
I'm amenable to change. I have some ideas of ways that it might be more acceptable to you that I'd be happy to propose to you and see if you were in agreement.
Okay,
That
'cause-
in combination with some landscaping, I think would go a long way to help you approve it.
Okay, so, because if we were to take a vote, and we have 2 members in to a denial, unless we deny it without prejudice, you wouldn't be able to come back for 2 years. So I'm gonna make that motion that we deny it without prejudice. So you just understand, because unless we have the 4 votes, you can't go forward.
May I request that we continue this meeting and revise plans and
What would you
come
like to
back?
do?
Would that be a possible option for you guys?
All right,
Well, my only concern is it's going to be substantial, so that would require a new, I'm 100% okay with denying without prejudice.
it's only substantial if we've already made a decision. It's not substantial if we...
So I'm okay with continuing it. And I would like to,
And so am I. I mean, I'm in Ed's camp that I'd be open to reducing it by a bay or some other adjustment to make it a little more consistent with my sense of the overall neighborhood. The mass is too big right now.
Okay, so you would like a motion to continue till when? How long do you think it will take you to put all of this together, redesign, come up with this stuff?
I think a month should be good.
Now we're gonna talk to Denise, because she's gonna tell you.
That should be.
July 7th? Okay. All right, now I will entertain a motion. Yes, please, I'm sorry.
If I could through the board, if the zoning board's looking at a continuance, my request to the board is that they return with answers to all of the conditions of the planning board, so that those can be properly addressed should the board want to entertain a positive decision. Because I think some of them, including as an example, the drainage or lack of in the street, Merrill should be able to provide a clear response on the impacts of that structure on the road. So that's all.
Okay. Did you get all of that, Denise? And did you get all of that?
Yes, so the planning board comments were in regards to the engineering letter that we received. We've since addressed that engineering letter and have a satisfied letter from them, so all of those issues have been resolved.
What we would really like to see is that you talk to Mr. Sylvia and get your ducks all in a row so that he's satisfied, so that Denise is satisfied, so everybody, so we can come back and dispose of this,
Yep.
okay?
Yep, sounds good.
Very good. So it'll be July 7th. I have a motion by, was it you?
Mike, yeah.
A motion by Mike and a second
I will second it.
by David to continue this hearing until July the 7th. All those in favor? It is unanimous.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You do not. Denise, do you have,
Do you have the notice for the next hearing? I don't have it in my packet.
Our next case is Baldano Farmhouse, 386 LLC, Morse Engineering, 71 Taylor Avenue. And I will have the clerk read the ad. Would you please?
Thank you. Case number 4162, the Plymouth Zoning Board of Appeals on the zoning bylaw will hold a public hearing in the Great Hall, Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass. On Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6 p.m. to hear the petition of David Blandino requesting a special permit required per section 2062 G2 to allow new construction in the floodplain overlay district on the property of 71 Taylor Ave, shown as parcel 045C 000-092 000Z of the assessor's maps dated January 1, 2024 in the R20S zone. The petitioner or his or her representative or any other person interested in desiring to be heard on this request should appear at the time and place designated.
Thank you. Seated on this case will be Mr. Leary, Mr. O'Reilly, Mr. Conroy, Mr. Peck, and myself. Who will be representing? Your name, please.
My name's Gregory Morse. I'm a registered engineer with Morse Engineering.
Go right ahead.
Great, thank you. Again, Greg Morse, registered engineer, representing the property owner and applicant, Dave Blandino, who's with us in the audience tonight. As was just read into the record, the property is at 71 Taylor Ave. We're seeking a special permit in accordance with Section 206 2G2 for construction of a new single-family home in the floodplain overlay district. There was a letter from the Building Department of July 12th, 2024, citing that specific section and the need for the special permit for construction in the overlay district. As you'll see on the site plan, we've gone out, we've done a survey of the property. The property is in the R20SL zoning district, as well as the floodplain overlay district. The property is constructed with an existing home that was built circa 1930. It's non-compliant with respect to the left and the right side lot lines. It's also a non-compliant FEMA structure. The FEMA zone at the site bisects the lot. We've highlighted in red on the site plan the FEMA zone. On the northern side, or the top side of the plan, it's a velocity zone at elevation 16. On the Taylor Ave side, which is the bottom side of the page, it's an AE zone at elevation 14. For reference, the ground surface where the house is at elevation 10. The lot itself is similar to other lots in the Taylor Ave neighborhood. The lot is non-conforming with respect to frontage, lot width, lot area, lot depth, and lot coverage. The lot area is 2,826 square feet. The proposal is to take down the existing building and to construct the new one in its place. The outline of that is shown on the site plan. It is a 3-story high, single-family home. It's compliant with the 35-foot height maximum. It brings the left side lot line nonconformance into conformity. The right side remains nonconforming at 4-foot proposed setback. The existing home is at 3.9 foot. The most notable change is the FEMA compliance. The new home will be fully FEMA compliant for the velocity zone and the AE zone. The first floor is proposed at elevation 20.1, which provides a total of 4 feet of vertical freeboard above that velocity zone at elevation 16. We appeared before the planning board last week. The planning board wrote their findings and recommended approval. They had a list of recommended conditions that we would concur with all of them if this board deemed this project worthy of an approval. I'm going to turn it over to you for any questions or comments.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to turn it over to you for questions or comments.
We seem to be missing a site plan, the electronic version. We have one site plan here, and Kevin has a question. Go right ahead.
Sorry to bring this up, but I don't have the planning board recommendations in the packet that I received. Does- I have the comments from the Conservation Commission, the Fire Department, Water.
I don't see it here, no.
Okay. Turn this off.
Yeah, we've got to see that.
You're the chair, I'll let you start.
This is,
No, this is Naughty.
This is Naughty
that's
Pine.
This is the Naughty. case
we're
we just
looking for
heard.
Taylor Ave.
I can provide you a
This
copy.
is, ladies and gentlemen, we just got taken out of paper and given these things. And we're all having a little bit of difficulty trying to keep up with what paperwork is where and how to do this. At least I am.
I can fully relate, don't worry.
We're going to muddle through this, though. All right, let's see what we've got here. Yeah.
There's a fire department comment, which is I was concerned about. 3A.
David,
Yeah, I would like to see it.
get out the way. Too
Also,
much stuff here.
also, if you can explain the three plans we have for the three levels, I mean, as you know, we're missing the site plan, but just clarify where the stairs are from the lowest floor down to the ground. I think I know, but can you clarify for my colleagues here?
Yep. So you have you have the floor plans that we submitted. The stairs are in the back of the building. There's a deck off the back. So there's a deck off the back of the building, and the stairways come down from that deck. on the
Okay,
floor
and
plans.
you've got enough run, so the stairs do not, I guess they take up part of that 3.9 feet. You know, the bottom tread would be that same 3.9 feet? out?
Correct. Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
I see. Okay. Michael, have you any?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so a couple different things. When I looked at the plan here, again, we didn't get the electronic copy in our packets, so you got to bear with us a little bit here. But when I just looked at it, I didn't see the septic system or the water line that's supposed to be on it.
I apologize. We are in the process of designing a new septic system. We've done perk tests with the Board of Health. That will require the Board of Health permit and the conservation permit. That's to be completed at this point in time.
Okay, so that's the reason they're not on those plans.
Correct.
The other thing too is I saw the fire department, as far as, this is gonna have sprinklers.
That was their recommendation. I understand that's a requirement, or what they've been requiring of the new homes down there.
Yes.
Looking at this site, I don't personally understand that. We have vacant lots on either side of us. The closest home is 30 feet away. But if that's their recommendation, we would have to comply with it.
Okay, because I mean, that's one thing we've been requiring too. Plus, the other thing too is, in that area, we're also requiring the materials on the outside be fire retardant, you know, so. Then the other question I had for you was, on the I assume they're using propane for heat.
David, you decided it's going to be propane or electric?
We are gonna try to go electric.
Okay,
Okay, so there will be,
yeah.
We are gonna try to go with electric side, just to, not have
okay, so we don't have to be concerned about the tank, because this is a flood zone, so I'm, was concerned more about the tank. So you're probably gonna go electric, is that the plan?
If the tank needs to be raised, I'd be happy to abide by whatever you suggest.
Yeah,
Right now,
You may.
So definitely trying to go electric on this whole thing, no propane at all, but if it comes down to it, unforeseen circumstances, we'd be happy to adjust to what we needed to adjust to.
yeah, there is a set of codes that pertain to that. Also, so I read, the building is 34 foot 9. The 47 foot is for the, is above sea level, is that my,
That's correct.
okay. Well, I'm all set for now.
I do want to say one thing about the fire department and our requirements, and it's because apparatus is so difficult to get there. You get a bad storm going on, and a fire starts down there, and people have to get in and out of there with equipment and everything. We want them not to have to fight as hard as they have to. And it takes so long to respond to that area sometimes that it can do damage to a lot of homes. No matter whether there's a vacant lot next door to it or not. Embers and everything flying around. We're really, really concerned about public safety there. So, yeah, we want fire retardant materials on the outside. We want the building sprinkled.
Great.
Okay.
So normally when we deal with properties down at Whitehorse, septic system has been a major issue because of the water line underneath the land. And I'm somewhat hesitant on approving anything without at least an idea of what the Board of Health, because we've had situations.
We're going to get to that.
We've had situations where it was so costly for the applicant that they decided not to go forward with the plan. And I don't know if we're putting the cart before the horse.
Oh, no, right now, we haven't got a completed design of septic. We haven't got on the plans where water and septic are. We haven't got any of that, so there is no way we could approve this evening.
So the septic system is required by state law, as well as the Plymouth Board of Health, to be fully compliant with Title V requirements. We've done the perk tests to prove that the soils are fully Title V compliant and that we can fit a septic system here. There's municipal water service available at this site. We typically go to the zoning board in the other towns I work in to get a building location approved before we design the infrastructure that supports that building. I'm 100% confident we can have a septic. It seemed premature to design it without a building location nailed down. This site is required, again, by several other regulations to comply with all of the septic regulations, and it certainly would.
And I know other towns do things differently from town to town. Things change all the time. But in this town, we like to have everything together. We don't plan things, we approve things. The planning has to be all done prior to us making a decision. And right now, the planning isn't all done. So, I don't know what to say.
Okay. I do understand that. I understood this application to be with respect to the construction of a home with respect to the floodplain district, and that it be elevated above the floodplain. If you need to see the septic system, I will absolutely add that to the plan and resubmit it to your board.
Okay, and then you can come back and explain everything, because, and again, water line on the property and how that's gonna happen, the materials that are being used, the whole thing.
Understood.
Okay?
And Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to see the parking.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
make sure there's parking that matches the bedroom count or exceeds it.
Anything else, Mike?
No, but I think it needs to be continued, the fact that, one, we don't have a planning board report, you know, staff report. We didn't have the site plan. I mean, I think we need to continue it.
And the plans weren't completed anyway.
Right.
The site plan that we do have is not complete, so
So I'd like to make a motion that we continue case number 4162 to, is that night, the July? All right, so we can do both the same night? So to July 7th?
7th.
Yes.
So I will make the motion to continue case 4162 to July 7th.
I thought Mike just did.
I just did, you were
Oh, then
second.
I will second it. I thought we were just nailing down the date. Okay.
So, Buster, you want something?
Yes, sir.
I don't know that there's anyone here in the audience to speak on this matter, but do you want to ask if there's any abutters I can
We're gonna-
incorporate any of their comments too?
We're going to leave that part of the hearing open because, and the reason being that some things may change as you're working through this with the building department and everything. And if people make comment now and the changes happen, if there are, they would want to make comments on that too. So we'd just rather hold off, make sure everything is in a row, and then we'll let the public comment. We're not going to cut them out, but we want them more informed.
Understood.
Okay, but thank you for reminding me because I meant to say that. We have a motion by Michael and a second by David to move this to July 7th at 7 p.m. All those in favor?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Whoa. Yeah. Yeah, they took our papers away and moved our time. Oh. All right, all in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on finally to case number 4163, Coastal Routes, Brandon Lynch, 11 Richards Road. Who will be? Yes. Okay. I'm going to ask the clerk to read the advertisement.
Thank you. Case number 4163, Plymouth Zoning Board of Appeals on the zoning bylaw will hold a public hearing in the Great Hall, Town Hall, 26 Court Street, Plymouth, Mass. On Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6 p.m. to hear the petition of Coastal Routes LLC requesting a special permit required per section 20316 to allow a marijuana product manufacturing use, no discharge of processed wastewater or processed liquids on site in Aquifer Protection Zone 2 per section 2061, use table 46 on the property of 11 Richards Road, shown as parcel 102-000-012E, 015B of the assessor's map dated January 1, 2024 in an LI zone. The petitioner or his or her representative or any other person interested in desiring to be heard on this request should appear at the time and place designated.
Thank you. Seated on this case will be Mr. Leary, Mr. O'Reilly, Mr. Conroy, Mr. Peck, and myself. Your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Lynch.
Okay. Go right ahead.
So yeah, again, my name is Brandon Lynch. I'm the owner of Coastal Roots LLC. We're a cannabis company that has proposed seeking a special permit to operate a cannabis business at 11 Richards Road. 11 Richards Road, number Unit 9, as it sits now, consists of a 1.13 acre property with an existing single-story, 15,000 square foot warehouse building built in 2016. The building includes flex spaces for up to 10 units with overhead doors. Unit 9 consists of 1,500 square feet and has direct access from the existing parking lot via a 3x7 pedestrian door and a 14x16 overhead garage door. The site is currently serviced by town water and sewer, and a fire hydrant is located on the front of the building. There is, like as I mentioned, Zen Leaf location is in there now, so there's been special permits already at this location, and unit number 9 was previously occupied by Coastal Transportation, which was an approved cannabis transportation company that recently closed down. So I've assumed that unit as of February of this year and have been trying to go through all the permitting processing locally here to move my existing provisional license from Uxbridge to this town. So I've been in this for multiple years, have licensing that's was looking to move to a place closer to home. I live in Marshfield, so Plymouth was a much more desirable location than Uxbridge. The site is located within light industrial and an aquifer protection area 2, but not within the ACEC flood zone or priority habitat area. The proposed use will comply with sections 203.16, 202.6, and 206.1 of the Plymouth zoning bylaws, and no processed wastewater or processed liquids will be discharged on site. As mentioned, the prior use of number 9 was for a marijuana transportation company. The unit already contains a compliant security system and roughly 150 square foot vault rooms that are to remain there and to be used for storage of all of our cannabis product under the proposed use. The use will not require any new construction or structural changes to the unit other than a 10 by 24 prefabricated freestanding walk-in cooler. It's the closest thing you could compare it to. That will remain at about 45 degrees for a cold chain process that we do. So the proposed use is the cold chain process called ice water extraction, is what it's referred to in the industry. It's a mechanical separation process that uses nothing but ice and water and agitation. We purchase biomass from other licensed cultivators in state. It's shipped to us frozen, where it will remain frozen until it's processed in this cold room in a 45-degree space. The final product, where you're pulling extractions essentially from the water, because oil and water don't mix, and the resins are an oil of the plant. So once the resins are extracted, the final product is also stored, cold chain product, in our refrigerators on site. So minimal smell, again, no hazards or toxins in this process. It's not solventless. It doesn't use, hexane, butane, a lot of the other industry standard extraction, which are, not the safest methods in my opinion. So yeah, recommendations. The West Plymouth Steering Committee unanimously recommended approval, and I was here last week, and the Planning Board also did the same, unanimous approval for the project. We have been working with the town of Plymouth over the last 15 weeks with Attorney McKay to try and work with you guys to get a compliant HCA. The town of Plymouth seemed to be having their own issues since there was new regulations issued by the state with your existing HCAs, and I think you guys were back and forth with the CCC and trying to get a compliant HCA that we could work with. So about an hour ago before this meeting, I was just updated by my attorney that Attorney McKay has sent over the first draft of this HCA, which has been, that's been the biggest win to just get that in hand, because the conditions that were given to us by the planning board, there's a lot of steps, obviously, the cannabis industry is that way, but without the HCA, a lot of those, are concerning to, is it gonna be wasted work? So it's good to know, we do have the HCA now, and that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm happy to answer any questions, and, hopefully we can keep pushing this project forward.
Yes.
So your business is selling product or just
We are-
manufacturing?
B2B, so we would be just manufacturing product and selling it to other retail locations. 3 to 5 employees, no additional foot traffic, from consumers at this location.
So is this cold water extracted?
Yes,
So, and you're taking product that's frozen, using cold water to extract resin to go into a vape?
vaporizer, or it could also be consumed in food products.
In food product?
We wouldn't make food products, but we could supply those to other, kitchens, if you will, or manufacturers that are more specific for food.
So there's, so this is kind of like a wholesale, not retail.
Correct. Yeah, B2B business model.
What is B2B? Business to
Business
business?
to business, yeah, instead of
Okay.
B2C.
I have no further questions.
Dave?
Yes, looking at the floor plan and reading things, any exchange, deliveries, pickups and stuff have to take place within the space with the door shut, right? So the vehicle, a van or whatever, is there, as I look at it, I guess I would like to see the plan annotated showing, with just dotted lines, where the vehicles pull in, because it looks a little
Yeah,
tight.
again, we are a small business here, so I think the industry's changed. We chose a smaller footprint to work with because that's what's best for us in our business model. I didn't necessarily plan on having to bring a vehicle in for the delivery, so it is going to be a tight squeeze as it is now, but more than doable. I was a question, for you guys, is that a requirement for all cannabis companies in the town right now?
I thought I understood, with some of the other industries we've looked at, that the vehicles need to come into the space.
That's not a
to do their
state
business.
requirement by the CCC, so again, if that's something that you do with other businesses,
Yeah.
we're happy to abide by that.
Yeah, and it looks to me like your new cooler could just slide over a few feet and
Yeah,
there'd be enough room.
definitely,
It just,
definitely.
right now, it looks tight.
That little extra space, as it is, was for,
I'm going to turn it over to our resident.
Okay, oh, that's right. We have one, right.
Yeah, you're correct. It's not required, though, because the site doesn't have a secure fence around it, like some of the other product manufacturers, or cultivating facilities as required by the CCC, unlike with retail establishments like Zen Leaf, which I'm assuming you...
well, that was my question, is
Right.
what are they held, what standard are they held to, and then just making sure that it's unified between us
Yeah.
all.
My understanding from the CCC, I haven't been involved in a couple of years, but retail requirements for security are slightly different than product manufacturers, where you do require a more secure perimeter, but that would probably be cost prohibitive for you. So if there was a way that you could get them even to back in, so you're not having somebody walk across the parking lot, even though I know you're gonna have to, you're gonna use a licensed transporter, I guess, to go
Absolutely. Yeah,
from one to the
definitely.
next, and they will have to be licensed.
It all has to be done by the CCC.
But I think David's suggestion, if you can pull it off, would probably be best for you anyway, because you don't
Okay.
have a secure fence around that site.
Yeah, I know some of the companies do drive, I guess it's probably not a one-size-fits-all for the delivery vehicles. Some of them drive, larger Sprinters, some are smaller. So I'll have to do just a little research to figure out what we really need to make sure a vehicle can fit in that space.
And what's the status of your provisional with the CCC?
It's active, we've had 3 years going on, so renewed it every year. I'm also in the state social equity program. Just received a grant in December for that purpose.
Okay. And you'll be shutting down the Uxbridge? facility?
Yeah, Uxbridge never opened.
Never opened,
Yeah,
even though you got the
yeah, so
estimate, yeah,
as soon as
okay.
we have an HCA in hand, I can do the transfer. That's the last requirement we needed to move our existing license.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
So the fact that you're doing cold water, isn't it safer than doing the ethanol extraction?
Yeah. Yes.
So the-
Definitely.
So there's the ethanol extraction, what's the other type of extraction? Is it propane? Or
Propane, CO2, and butane. It's crazy.
So what you're doing is a much more healthier product.
Absolutely. Yeah, I personally, it's funny because
What is it called?
it's called solventless extraction because it's solvent-free. So that's kind of, and so that confuses a lot of people, so ice water extraction.
This
it
is
could
a
be-
healthy thing you're proposing.
It's healthy and it's ancient. You know, it's an ancient method. All these other methods, people invested, you know, $250,000 into the machinery, and now a lot of that's becoming obsolete, but the industry doesn't want to let it go because they're so invested. But luckily, there's about, you know, right now there's probably 4 or 5 other manufacturers doing this process in the state, and I think as things continue over the next 5 to 10 years, this is definitely will become the standard, and a lot of those other processes will be phased out.
I'm all set with all my questions. I'm fine with the proposal also.
Yeah, I have just a couple of questions. On the cold water extraction, so you say there's no discharge. How much water are you using?
We will be using about 1,000 gallons a month.
Okay, and so again, is any of that reclaimed? I mean, are you with,
The process is, everything is washed and then it's all strained through micron screens. So, you know, what water is residual is 99% water. We did get, working with the DPW, Richard Bossy, he's just requested to get an effluent concentration of the wastewater. So I reached out to a couple other businesses that do this similar process, but no one's been very willing to just hand it over. So I think that's going to be, you know, just a work in progress to get the testing for him. But I'm confident that, you know, what we're doing is non-toxic, non-hazard. It will be chlorophyll with, you know, water, essentially a mix left over in that.
yeah, I was just curious about the amount of water you'll be using, because I mean, in other words, the water's not reused, you don't filter it.
No,
reuse it.
through the day process, absolutely, but there gets to be a point where the water, it's not useful for what we're doing anymore. It's filled with chlorophyll. You need clean water, and as soon as it gets to a point, you really can't use it anymore for the process. But you are able to recycle it usually per day. So what we're estimating is like about 30 to 50 gallons a day for the process.
And then as far as when you're done with the other product, you know, the byproduct you're getting from the other shops, what do you do with the detritus when it leaves there? You know?
When we take in product, is that the question?
No, when you're done extracting what's left over, the refuse,
Yeah,
what do you do with that?
So that will be stored inside of our facility in a locked trash barrel, essentially, and then that will be picked up by an approved cannabis waste company.
So it would be approved cannabis?
Yeah. So they exist, you know, if any other manufacturer, that's usually the standard.
Yeah, okay. Because, I mean, basically, this building was set up, we originally we approved a transporter for this.
Yeah, for the transport.
Yeah, I have no problems with it.
Okay. Have you anything else you'd like to add?
No,
At
not unless
this
you
time.
have, not unless you have any comments for me, but
Well, we're gonna open it up to the public, and then I'm gonna talk to the building inspector,
Cool.
and then,
at this
But if
time,
you-
then, no, sir.
okay. At this point, I'm gonna open this to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on this petition? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna close public comment. Mr. Sylvia, have you anything you would like to add? Okay. Yes, please.
It's probably in there, but security cameras on the outside for the deliveries,
They do exist.
they do exist per the CCC
There's
regs.
two of them right now, and
Two facing the garage door.
I believe there's one, yeah, one on, if there's a garage door and a pedestrian door, and I believe
Okay,
there's
one on
something like
each.
this.
Okay, thank you.
But it is the same system that was approved by, the local police department as well as the CCC for the last business.
Okay, well, have you anything else you would like to add? All right, I'm going to bring this back to board discussion only. You anything, Ed?
So I find it somewhat fascinating, like we're watching the industry evolve as a board to a more healthy, away from ethanol, propane that are people breathing in. And it's somewhat fascinating just from a science and a business perspective, that's getting healthier. So I'm in favor of this, and he's just stepping into the old product. It's something already approved, so I have no problems with this.
Kevin?
Nope, my comments, questions been satisfied. Just again, back to whatever you can do in terms of the deliveries and make them a little safer, given that you don't have a secure perimeter. That, as David said, would be my only concern.
Well, I'll ask you. Michael, anything?
Go ahead, David, I'll let you.
Yeah, no, I just, as a retired architect too, looking at it, if you slid the walk-in refrigerator over, but I'd like this potential request to return an informal session just with a revised plan, which will demonstrate there's sufficient space in there. Because you have 20 feet, if you do the arithmetic, you've got 20 feet down by the man door. And, if you slide it over a little bit, you basically have the front area for maneuvering and pulling vehicles in. And so just to return an informal, I'd like to see it.
Okay.
But he's agreed to it, Kevin.
Yeah,
mentioned
why
it.
there is a space there now is because in that.
Excuse me, this is,
Yeah, okay.
sorry,
Okay,
Excuse me.
go ahead.
so just, adding a condition is return an informal, dot in the line, in terms of a, dotted vehicle, a van or something. Because even a larger one could pull in at a diagonal and do some deliveries and stuff and back out. So that, otherwise, I'm totally in favor.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm in favor of it. I mean, we did pass this for transportation, anyway. So we're doing basically the same thing other than some extraction, from product that you're not growing. So I don't have a problem with it. We're gonna put a condition on this, that prior to the building permit, that you will get a host agreement, between you and the selectmen. That's not in place right now. And actually, you could bring that back in an informal, and also David's, the plan that David would like to see. So we can do that in an informal after. But we can pass it tonight. So with that, I'm gonna make a motion to approve case number 4163 with the 6 conditions listed, with an additional condition prior to the building permit. An executed host agreement between the town and the petitioner will be in place. And also that you come back at an informal hearing to present that host agreement and David's concern.
Okay. Do we come up with the proposed date tonight for that hearing, or is that to be determined?
Might as well
We're
do them all
going
the
to
same
in a
night,
minute.
right?
We will in a minute. And okay, so we have first I want to make sure that we got that ZBA, that motion. Read that.
Which one? And one additional condition, that prior to a building permit, an executed host agreement between the town and the petitioner must be in place. Oh, That's my writing, not his.
Okay, well,
One second.
we have a
Yeah.
proposal
Should be
that
good.
Michael wants to add a condition that, and I agree with him, and I talked to the,
That's a quick.
no room here and everything falls on the floor.
My architect can get me that in a week.
I talked to both the Director of Planning and the attorney, and I am aware of, that the host agreement is almost done. She sent a draft.
Yes.
And we'll get that all done. So we're going to put that condition in there that you can't do anything until that host agreement is completed.
Okay.
Okay?
Makes sense to me.
And we want you to come back in an informal. Would that be July 7th, Denise?
You just need a revised floor plan and an HCA. We got our first draft from the HCA now. Their attorney says it really seems minimal. You know, we should be able to have a signed HCA hopefully no longer than a week from now. And I can get that change on that floor plan, you know, in a couple days, so.
June 9th was Claremont.
No, you can't.
And then you have no more meetings in June until July 7th. Because we do back-to-back meetings. Unless we need to add another date, which.
Well, if it's quick, I think.
If it's an informal, we can do it.
Yeah.
First thing, make it first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do it on the 7th of, the 9th of June?
No, that's second. That's after.
That's Claremont's.
This,
June 2nd, at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
okay.
I mean, where it's an informal, we don't have to have an exact date anyways, but.
Peace of mind, at least.
Well, it doesn't require public notice,
Oh, okay.
so it's adjustable.
Gotcha.
So I have a motion by Michael to come back. We have a motion to approve case number 4163 with an added condition. And that,
Two conditions, unless they're folded into a single condition.
we're going to fold it into a single. To come back with the completed host agreement and come back with a plan that you wanted to see the ice machine, the refrigeration.
I just want the plans updated to demonstrate clearances for, a vehicle to pull in.
Okay,
Yeah, so I don't want to design it for them, just say
Okay.
what we're looking for.
all right,
Cool.
all right.
Thank you so much for your time.
And that will, well, we've got to take a vote on that. And
Kevin,
Kevin seconded it, and that was June 7th?
second.
2nd.
But we can make that adjustable, it doesn't need.
It's informal, so.
It's informal.
Okay, so all those in favor? It's unanimous. We will see you back here on June the 2nd with all of that stuff. Please, please have it all in a row, because the board gets upset if we have to keep continuing this,
I
because
understand.
it makes a lot of work for her and everybody in this building. The staff has to go back and redo things and all of that, so please, make sure you have everything.
Thank you. I definitely will. I wish I had the HCA prior to this for you guys, but luckily we're making steps now.
Okay, very good.
Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. We have an informal hearing for case 4146, McGreco, Flaherty and Stefani Engineering, and this is at 205 Taylor Avenue. Please, Mr.
Good evening. I'm here with representing Rick Feo and McGuico. If the board remembers, back in February, they granted a special permit to convert the congregate housing at 205 Taylor Avenue to 2 duplex units. At that meeting, there was a little discussion about maybe if we could come back in an informal to show the board how we could get a 5th parking space. By doing that, we have 2 10-foot wide spaces, and we came back with 3 9-foot wide spaces on maybe the south side. So we're hoping that the board would be okay with that. That's condition number 4 of the special permit that says come back and 9-foot parking spaces will be allowed if 5 parking spaces are utilized. So that's pretty much it. Hi, Michael.
I was wondering why you were sitting back there all alone, you know?
What do you think, Michael?
I'll be honest, I think he's fulfilled it. I mean, I looked at the spaces. I mean, and the other thing too is, this isn't a Stop and Shop parking lot where you need a 10-foot, in my opinion, you know? If you have to take a couple extra minutes to get in and out, whatever, I'm fine with it. I think he fulfilled the condition.
David?
You know, just looking at the visual, on the right side of the drawing, there's words that say 3 9-by-18-foot spaces. So I can see them. But then because of the way the computer draws gravel, I cannot see where the other 2 are clearly. So
if I may.
So Mr. Flaherty is going to come right up here with
Yes,
that
yeah.
plan and show us.
come to the bench.
I kind of sketched them in 3 9-foot spaces
Right.
over here,
I can see.
and 2 9-foot spaces, 2 10-foot spaces over here.
Okay, because you don't have the label there, and then the lines kind of line up as if there's 6 spaces. And I know there's not 6 spaces, because the notes say you show the 5 spaces. That's actually good if there's 9-foot ones, but, you know, depending on the needs and whatever of the tenants. Okay, that was my only question. I could not see where spaces 4 and 5 were.
You're gonna brighten that thing up.
You got anything?
This is how it came in my email.
You got anything?
No, I just said my comment.
Well, Mr. Flaherty, it appears that you've done a fine job, and we will approve.
Well, that's great.
Well, I'm going to take a vote,
Okay.
but it looks favorable.
Promising.
Just stand down
I'm
now.
holding my breath now.
I'll make the motion that on case 4146, that the applicant has met condition number 4.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a condition by David and a second by Michael that the condition has been met. All those in favor?
Yay.
Hey, how's your golf game?
Terrible. I'm ready to give it up.
Yeah, every time.
What's that?
Well, then tell Kevin to come see me. That concludes the business for the evening, as far as I'm concerned. Has anybody on the board anything else they would like to discuss at this point? I await a motion.
I'll make the motion to adjourn this evening.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor? Thank you and good evening.